I'm Brenda. I'm a prosecutor here in Miami-Dade County. I'm originally from Maryland. The prosecutors are not really a crowd that really kind of appreciates a good ghost story. But now I get a chance to, if you will, tell the truth as to whose credit I should really give the solution to this mystery to. So I'm grateful for that. Prosecutors have an expression. Your evidence speaks to you if you know how to listen. If you had told me that meant listening to the ghost of a murdered woman, I would have laughed. Cassie was a 37-year-old woman who had been stabbed to death. I was the assistant state attorney assigned to her murder. At the time, I would have told you I knew all about listening. The man I was prosecuting, the defendant, was Cassie's husband. He was caught fleeing the crime scene. The front of his pants were splattered with her blood. The murder weapon was a knife from a set in his kitchen. She had been there because he had left a message that he was ready to sign the divorce papers. It seemed like an open and shut case, except for one troubling, unexplained fact. Cassie had no defensive wounds on her body. It is human instinct to block blows when attacked. Cassie had 10 stab wounds on her chin, her neck, her chest, her shoulders, and her back, but there was not one defensive wound on her hand or her wrists. I knew the defense would use this to say that Cassie was holding a weapon. But this was no self-defense case. This was a slaughter. So why were there no defensive wounds? I tried listening to the evidence, but I was missing something. I met Cassie's boyfriend, an older man, gentle and kind. They were having a baby. When Cassie was killed, she was pregnant with his child. A week before trial, I staged a reenactment with the homicide and crime scene investigators on the case. We spread out the evidence on a conference table at the police department. I picked up the knife. Flakes of dried blood fell off it. My trial partner and I role-played, scenario after scenario. None of us could figure out why there were no defensive wounds. I left that reenactment raw and dejected. I got home, I dropped my briefcase, I bent over the kitchen counter. It seemed like the only person who could solve this was gone. I cried out for help. Cassie, please, show me how you died. I didn't think I was making a person-to-person call. The case was maddening because I knew Cassie had left him because he had tried to strangle her. But under the rules of evidence, the jury couldn't be told this. Then, midway in the trial, the defendant suddenly began to rock with a catatonic stare. A week-long recess was taken while forensic psychologists evaluated him. It was determined that he was malingering, which is a polite scientific term for you are so faking it. The trial resumed, but once again, the jury could not be told the results of the forensic examinations. Now, not only could I not explain the physical evidence, but the jury might think I was beating up on a crazy man. The morning we were to give closing arguments, I woke up at 3 a.m., completely alert. Cassie was standing in the alcove by my bedroom door. I could feel her step towards me. I panicked. I think she could feel my thoughts the way I could feel her move because she stopped instantly. When I felt secure that she wasn't going to come any closer, I turned on the lamp next to me. If this had been a made-for-TV movie, I would have been brave. I wasn't. Seeing the dead at homicide scenes and autopsies is part of the job. I don't get paid enough to see ghosts. I picked up a legal pad and I rewrote my closing argument. Cassie stayed with me while I worked in the alcove. It was close to dawn when I realized she had left. Hours later, I explained to the jury why Cassie had no defensive wounds. She hadn't been trying to protect herself. When Cassie walked in and the defendant saw that she was pregnant with another man's baby, he grabbed a knife. It was the baby he was trying to rip out of her. That's why her blood was splattered on his pants below the knees. That's why her wounds were on her neck and her shoulders. She had bent over and used her body to shield her baby. Her instinct to protect her child had been greater than her own instinct to survive. The jury found the defendant guilty of second-degree murder. Silently, I thank the ghost of a murdered woman who spoke to me without words and taught me to listen.